Hidely ho there, people. What's happening? What's going on? All you beautiful SOBs out there. How the hell? He's choking on a liquid beverage. I'm over here carrying the weight of the show. It's like, okay, there he is. There we go. Welcome, everybody. Either welcome or welcome back, depending on what is applicable to yourself. This is the Battle Bros podcast with myself, Mac, and this gentleman over here, Alamo. Welcome. If you haven't been with us before, we're just two guys that have known each other for a long damn time who are just total asshats.
Some would say far too long.
Far too long. And we do goofy stuff, and we decided to do a podcast, and it's like, yeah, and we're still going strong. So, pretty crazy stuff. If you haven't done so, you can go and check out our other social media avenues that we have. YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitter, all that good stuff. It's usually handled by this gentleman over here. You can check out a lot of our episodes. You can check out all of our episodes on YouTube. There's only one episode that has not gone to our streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. That was one that got messed up when in the recording process before we had the platform that we use, which is StreamYard. Shout out to StreamYard for having such a wonderful tool that we can put this on every week. You guys rock. Yeah, so we didn't have a show last week because I was pretty ill. I had a stomach bug that was like debilitating. It was awful, and that's all I'm going to say about it. And we're going to move on. So, if you caught our show 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the topic of intent. That was our last episode, 076. This week is 077. But before we get to the topic and what we're going to discuss, let's go to the news desk, shall we? Let's see what's in the news. So, last week we had some things that were going on. Let's see here. Let's see. First and foremost, so there was a husband and wife team that won the best sapper competition. They're both assigned to different engineer companies over in Germany. So that was pretty cool. I forgot to pull that one up. Damn it. So it's First Lieutenants Rachel and Samuel Kicklighter. He is with the Second Cavalry Regiment's Regimental Engineer Squadron, which is this guy's old unit, 2nd Striker Cav. And then Rachel is with the 15th Engineer Battalion. So, I mean, it's pretty impressive.
My old house.
They both have their Ranger tab, their Sapper tab, Air Assault Airborne. He's got the Expert Soldier badge as well. So it's like, go getters, good stuff. So congrats to those two. Yeah, pretty dope. They're like adorable. They look adorable. Like they just look at me and you're just like, come on, really? It shouldn't be that easy to be adorable. Come on. It's like, oh, sir, you're just so good looking.
They're youngins too, though.
Yeah, they're both, I think, West Point grads as well, I think it said. So, yeah. So, anyway, we had that. Also, another thing that happened in the news, you can go ahead and click that background out there, Alamo. Another thing that happened in the news is earlier in this month, it was the 40th anniversary. Oh, you're going to go to that one? Okay, fine. We'll do that one. So this was one from this week. This is an interesting article I saw this week. There's an Army captain who has given up his commission in the Army to enlist in the Marine Corps. Yeah, it took me a minute on that one too. So this gentleman's name is Nicholas Brooklier. He started off as a Army transportation officer and then ended up as a captain in the Logistician Corps. Was pretty much said he kind of felt unfulfilled and he was like, so he gave it up and he's going to enlist in the Marines with the intent of becoming a Marine infantry officer. So what the hell do you even call that? A reverse Mustang? It's like, that's kind of interesting. It's like, okay. Yeah, so pretty interesting. The other major news story that we had was that it was the earlier in the month they had the Best Ranger competition. This was the 40th running of the Best Ranger competition. So it was a team from the Ranger Regiment. I believe one soldier was from the Second Ranger Battalion, and the other one was from the third. But what was interesting was that it was the 40th anniversary of the Best Ranger competition, and the two Rangers that won it were registered as Team 40. So that's kind of interesting. But they've also Rangers have won this the last 4 years in a row, 4 years running. They also just recently soldiers assigned to Ranger Regiment also won the Best Mortar Squad competition, Best Sniper competition, and then earlier in March they also had two guys medics that were the best awarded won the best medic competition and stuff. So it's like Rangers are definitely leading the way. So hey, good on them guys. So pretty cool stuff. But yeah, so it's been kind of an interesting couple of weeks for news. I mean that Army officer giving up his rank to go enlist for it's like it's like Spock would say. Fascinating. So yeah. So what do you say we get into this, shall we? So this week's discussion, we are talking about the
Let's
topic
do
of
it.
failure. Failure. Okay. So it's kind of something that, you think it would come up more often, but in this day and age, it just kind of feels like people just are having an issue with this, whether it's intentional, unintentional. It could be just the culture, the generational shift, one of those two kind of is what it is. So, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this, shall we? So, failure is the social concept of not meeting a desirable or intended objective and is usually viewed as the opposite of success. Criteria for failure depends on context and may be relative to a particular observer or belief system. Okay. So, why are we talking about failure? Again, this kind of day and age, I was reading something about how, you have all these, very advanced people that are going to school, getting their masterships and masterate. Wow, that's not a word. They're getting their master's degrees, they're getting their doctorates. That's what I meant to say. And you have folks that are just like, they have to do lab work and run experiments, but they're afraid to run experiments because they might fail. It's like, that's how you learn. That's kind of failure is so critically codependent to success. You have to fail before you can succeed. You know that expression, how do you get to be old and wise? You have to be young and stupid first.
What is it?
And a lot of
What
us,
is it? Edison said was, I didn't fail. I didn't fail at making a light bulb 1,000 times. I just found 1,000 ways to not make a light bulb.
yeah, something like that. It might have been Ben Franklin. Was it Ben Franklin?
No, I think that was Edison.
No, you're right. Yeah, that was Edison. Okay. Yeah. So, and if you think about it, like it shouldn't be something like, as long as you keep trying, like you can go to Ranger School as many times as you want. Like, as long as you don't quit. The moment you quit, they're like, hey, pack your shit, get the hell out of here. If you get hurt, okay, cool. You recycle, you come back, you get stronger, you get better, you come back. Like, Matt Best talked about going in his book, Thank You for My Service. He talked about going to Ranger School, I think 3 separate times before he finally qualified and became Ranger qualified through Ranger School and stuff. So it happens. Like it shouldn't be felt. It shouldn't be like viewed as like this just ominous, like evil thing. There's a lot of good that can come from not succeeding. If you want to be all PC.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's a loss nowadays, though, dude. I think a lot of people they see failure as like the end all be all, like, oh well, freaking, it's just, it's not for me. I can't fail because then if I fail, I'm like, and they get all Debbie Downer on themselves,
So
And
I literally just thought about this. I would like to see the comparison and the correlation between not wanting to fail and how that has to do with the whole, instant gratification culture that we live in now with social media, with like the get rich quick scene. Everybody wants to go be a gamer and get rich so fast, not have to put in the hard work,
Mhm.
not have to put in the freaking dedication, the blood, sweat, tears, the frustration, the what the F am I doing? All that kind of stuff. Like
Mhm.
they just want to be able to be successful and be an influencer and all that kind of stuff. You got to
God.
suck at it. I mean, we can tell you, go back and watch the first few episodes that we did. We don't know what the hell.
Cringe.
So cringe. You're just like, I don't. Like, what was that movie? Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson.
Yes.
We're sitting there like they're making them watch. Oh, we're gonna make you watch it.
Yeah.
All that kind of
Mac
stuff.
was definitely very
Reserved. Yeah.
This was you.
Well, I still have a big head. That doesn't matter.
It was just like, yeah, yeah, and I'm real enthusiastic. I'm trying to figure out what to do, so I'm like extra stupid. And then this, the other guy was just, he was very just.
I wasn't staring that hard at the camera.
Internet.
Hello, people I cannot see. So we found a couple articles on failure, so let's get into those. If you want to go ahead and read yours there, Macho. And then
but Durka Muhammad Jihad. The one I
Muhammad
found was indeed it was an article I found
running away. They're going down
Caltech magazine. And
okay, so Caltech, like California Technical University, is what they're going for. You said Caltech, like the firearms manufacturer. I'm like, I don't think that's right.
No, not Caltech, right. But definitely
it sounded like you said Caltech,
like the Caltech. Yeah. And it actually ended up being very interesting. It was something that I found, and I was like, whoa, because they kind of look at it more so. For those of us in the veteran community and the military community, they kind of looked at it from the more so like the business and interrelational perspective, which I thought was actually very interesting. Because
it seems like we do end up finding a lot of articles that are like from the business standpoint. It's like that's great and everything. But yes, it's like let's do something other than that for a change. That'd be great.
And what it says here is the Hawaiian skies stayed clear over the Subaru telescope on the first night in February, despite a gloomy forecast. The second night, too, offered an obstructed view, and then on night 3, the telescope broke. Boo-hoo. We couldn't open the dome, says Constantine or I'm guessing it's Batigan. Caltech professor of planetary science. So we wasted 2-3 hours just sitting there watching Netflix and waiting until the telescope was fixed. When Subaru finally got up and running, the fog rolled in. So for very obvious reasons, this one is in the beginning very focused on the educational or scholastic side.
SAT
or the more
good for you. Yeah.
Academic side, if you will.
Academia.
Yes. For Batigan and Mike Brown, the Richard and Barbara Rosenberg Professor of Planetary Astronomy, a third-day glitch is a punch in the gut. The pair uses Subaru to hunt for Planet 9, the large undiscovered world that they have predicted to exist in the far reaches of the solar system based on the gravitational effects it seems to exert on other objects. There's not a search that will culminate in the classic aha moment when an astronomer spots the speck of a new world against the black backdrop of space. Instead, they must scan the sky for for 3 consecutive nights, finding candidate objects on the first night, measuring their velocities on the second night, and measuring acceleration on the third. All 3 steps are required to know whether a distant object could fit in the predicted parameters of Planet 9. But sometimes on that third night, the telescope just won't open. So, right out the gate, they're opening up with a story from specifically one of their own professors talking about how not only were they dealing with something that is of obvious great interest to them, but not only did they not get the readings they wanted to the first night, they missed out on the first, the second, and the third. Moral of the story, from what I can tell, is so far keep trying. It goes on to say here, keep going. Or how's Dory do it? Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
I never watched it. Oh, Dory, not Dora. I'm like, I never watched Dora the Explorer.
Dory.
I'm like, oh.
Yes. So the article continues on by saying many ways to fail. Field work ruined by uncooperative instruments or inclement weather is just one way that failure can strike a scientific endeavor. There are more ways to fail than just failing to prove something you're out to prove, says Omar Tammuz, professor of economics and mathematics. Sometimes scientists bang their heads against the desk for months and nothing comes of it. Sometimes a mathematician proves a theorem, writes the paper, and only then realizes someone else already proved it 20 years ago. Sometimes a researcher discovers something and then sees the world greet the achievement with a shrug of deafening silence. I've failed in that way also, Tamo says. Some papers I think they're great, but I cannot get a decent journal to publish them because nobody else cares about this idea that I think is so magnificent. Failure lies around every corner of scientific life, notes biochemistry professor Bill Clemens. Papers and grant proposals are rejected, tenure proves elusive, promising projects go nowhere, while promising graduate students go elsewhere. All the while, problems bounce around in one's brain for weeks or months with no solution in sight. So, here's the thing. One thing that we can definitely gather is that the scientific method is essentially, the trial and error of figuring out what's what to get to a conclusion. Like you're essentially testing theory after theory to make sure to find the one that is the factual solution. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong there, freaking brother, but I don't think, honest to God, we would have really any of the scientific freaking jumps that we have right now if it wasn't for the trial and error of the people that came before us,
No,
trying to
I mean,
freaking get these scientific
I
freaking
think
discoveries made. Everything from
I think
genetic research to freaking to the transistor, all of that shit.
yeah, I mean, I think it comes from a lot of different things. Number one, it comes from, somebody, just being consistent, and like this idea is living rent free in their head, and this, persistence of this, like this festering of
Mm,
this idea. They're just like, I can't, get out of my head. And, they're trying to make it work, because I mean, hell, on a smaller note, I remember the first time I made like for me, a major repair to my car. I had to change a fuel pump, and I was like,
yeah.
I don't have the money to do this. I found some stuff online. I found some videos on YouTube. I got a part from a buddy of mine, who got it for me at a great price. I did it myself, and I'm like, sweet, like there's something about, like, failure sucks, but like the opposite of that is like when you succeed, it's just like this. It's the sweetest of nectars. It's like ambrosia for the soul.
Mhm.
It's just fantastic. You're just like, yeah. It's kind of like I love that scene in Castaway with Tom Hanks. He's like, look, I have made fire. Like, I know that's more successful than it is failure, obviously, but it's like, yeah, like let's go, man. Like, you and Wilson alone on the island, man. You guys are making shit happen. Like, let's do this. And this is where you keep reading.
Sorry, there was a lag. I was listening to you.
Oh, yeah, no.
So,
Like, jeez.
okay, so it goes on to say success in disguise. In the late excuse me, in the 1970s, a new rumble emanated from seismology. It was just at the beginning of the time we were thinking that earthquake prediction might be possible. After having a long time of saying, no, there's no way, says Lucy Jones, visiting associate in geophysics, Caltech researchers had issued an earthquake prediction, and Chinese scientists at the Institute of Geology and Geophysics of the State of Seismological Bureau in Beijing appeared to have successfully predicted a quake. When China began to normalize relations with the United States, Jones, then a 23-year-old doctoral student who had happened to study Chinese as an undergraduate, traveled to Beijing to see the predictive research firsthand. She was among the first American scientists to work in the country. The heady days did not last. Caltech's prediction did not pan out, while Jones' trip to China revealed its earthquake prediction to have been more of a lucky guess. They didn't have a better idea than we did of what made looking for a foreshock, she says. A foreshock being a smaller quake that precedes a larger one in the same location. In time, it would become clear that earthquake prediction is not possible, but back then, Jones was convinced an answer could be found in the foreshocks. Surely some unique feature like their pattern or of relieving stress in the Earth's crust would become a telltale sign to separate a harbinger of big one from the multitude of small earthquakes that occur every day. So essentially, like we have another story here. It's pretty much the same thing. Like it was basically the trial and error of we were doing the research, we were trying to figure it out, and we figured out one conclusion. Like basically, well, we really can't predict it. The article moves forward into here where it says 10,000 wrongs to make a right. And if you guys remember, I went through, the Edison quote. Excuse me. This one's, if I remember correctly, this part of the article is probably more about is more about robotics. Sometimes success comes disguised as a failure, but sometimes it simply means persevering through 10,000 failures to find a solution that works. Aaron Ames, Bren Professor of Mechanical and Civil Engineering and Control Dynamical Systems, say that one fast, builds bipedal robots. Those that walk on two legs as humans do. The brain is so good at walking that most humans can do it unconsciously, but walking on two legs is actually a maddeningly complex process that boils down to falling and catching oneself with every step. You have to land on your foot in such a way that you catch yourself from falling in that moment, Ames says, but also propel yourself forward in the same motion. To make a working human-like heel-toe gait, essentially a bipedal robot's manner of walking that is guided by mathematics, Ames begins with around 10,000 candidate gaits. Many of those never make it out of the mathematical simulations because it becomes clear the robot would topple or fall over. Perhaps 100 gates survive long enough to be tested on the hardware, albeit with human scientists holding the unsteady automaton upright. So again, this article kind of is a bit repetitive, but we can see that throughout much of scientific research, I'm probably going to kind of cut it because obviously we have another article to get to. But essentially, many of the scientific breakthroughs and many of the conclusions that we have been able to come to in scientific research would not have happened if it was, or excuse me, if it wasn't for the trial and error of many of these physicists, geologists,
Smart
roboticists,
science
all these
people,
people part
math
in
people.
adding to the research. We wouldn't be like, I mean, honestly, we wouldn't have the phones we have. Like, just imagine what it would be like if the transistor hadn't been invented. Where would our chip technology be? We wouldn't have the smartphones we have. Many of the devices that we saw in Star Trek and beyond back then, like in the 1960s into the 1980s, wouldn't have been possible if we had never discovered how the transistor worked. We wouldn't have the
So
smaller chipsets that we have.
bring up a very valid point, and I think one of the big things about kind of one of the catalysts, ingredients to this whole thing is being inspired and using your imagination. I mean, that's where the tablet came from, is the pad from Star Trek: The Next Generation. They had the little doodads that were like the little personal access data terminal, kind of data desktop, whatever the hell pad stands for. I don't know. So I call it an iPad because it was an iPhone. But yeah, I mean, people get inspired. I mean, and they look at stuff like, and think about this. Think about Terminator 2, Judgment Day. The whole premise of that is that the dude has the hand and the freaking the chip.
I think it was the processor chip.
Yes, it was the processor from the head of the actual the T-1000.
It was a piece like that. It was a piece like that freaking big.
And it was like the freaking skeletal hand. They had never seen it before. It was so far advanced that it drove them to like go and freaking try
reverse
to
engineer it.
Yeah, but then you also
that's what I found so
time paradox.
Yeah, and that's what I found so interesting about that article is like there was so many things. Like obviously, as you guys could see, that in that article there was a lot of stuff to cover, which is why I was like, okay, it's repetitive, but there's a lot to be said in the fact that, again, many of the scientific breakthroughs that we're having nowadays, they're possible because the people behind that research are not giving up on what they're researching. Now, granted, there are some things that government funded shouldn't be government funded, but
let's not get into that.
We'll stick to what the cool stuff is.
I'm going to put it this way because this is something that people can relate to, whether you're older or younger. Think about if Tadashi Hamada gave up after the first few times, he would not have made Baymax from Big Hero 6. He would have gave up, he would have been like, he's like, I'm not giving up on you, because he wanted to make it awesome, and he did. And next thing you know, you have Baymax, who is like the most cool, lovable superhero.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Baymax, your personal healthcare companion. On a scale of 1 to 10, describe your pain. That's such a great movie. Like, it's such a fantastic movie. So
it really is.
I love how like they take Tokyo and San Francisco and they kind of merge it together into San Francisco. But then you got that option of that. Let me get this straight. You got the guy with like a Bronx accent. Like, so a dude in a kabuki mask came after you. It's so good. That's a great movie. Look at Hero freaking, was sitting there and he figured out that like, hey, this works, but I can make it better. That there's failure points, so let me improve upon those and make it better. So
right.
I had no idea I was going to rope Big Hero 6 into our conversation tonight, but hey, that's pretty damn dope. For those at home, if you want to read the article that Alamo was just talking about, it's going to be, if you go to, it's Caltech Magazine. The name of the article is The Transformative Power of Failure, and it is from the summer of 2021, and it's dated July 9th of 2021.
Yeah. Great article, by the way. Like I said, there was a lot more stuff in there.
Mosman.
Yeah. I think there was some
Very,
aeronautic
very
stuff
good
in there
article.
too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So the article that I found was from a website. It is the Army University Press. It's armyupress.army.mil, and this is from the NCO Journal. This is an article that was originally published in the spring 1997 issue of that NCO Journal magazine. This is written by Master Sergeant James H. Clifford. I believe he's an Air Force guy. Yes, he was assigned with the 149th Ordnance Detachment, Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. So it could be Army or it could be Air Force. Who knows? So here we go. Every senior NCO serving today has made his or her share of mistakes. We didn't reach our positions because we were super sergeants. We got here with a lot of help.
Typo
Our leaders allowed us to make our... Say what?
I said typo right out the gate, but it's all good.
Okay. Yeah. We got here with a lot of help. Our leaders allowed us to make our mistakes and learn from them. Have you ever gotten a good tip from an NCO on an FTX, an RTEP, or command inspection? I've gotten plenty. Have you ever wondered where that NCO learned that tip? Ask the soldier, and you'll probably find the NCO learned from his or her mistakes. Most of us don't remember those things we did right the first time. Why is that? Of course, it's because we learn the indelible lessons from our mistakes. Success seldom provides the important lessons of life. In today's drawdown army, so again, this is 1997, so we are definitely in the drawdown. This is like the Clinton era. So we went from 24 active duty divisions down to 10. They were like, we stripped down pretty good. So it's after the Gulf War. It's at post Gulf War, pre 9/11, obviously. So it was very much a time of like, shrink it down. In today's drawdown army, many of us are becoming zero defect NCOs. I see this as a dangerous trend. It is not unreasonable that in a downsizing environment, we fear the effect of being labeled as a failure. We also fear being labeled as indulgent of failures. Not being able to deal with soldiers who fail has a chilling effect on mission accomplishment. A leader must strike a balance between failure and success in every soldier and every mission. I offer the following thoughts to NCOs to help them cope with failures in their soldiers and themselves. First, accept it. Excuse me. Everyone fails on a regular basis. By accepting it, I don't mean condone, excuse, or ignore. I do mean expect, understand, and use it as a development tool. Every senior NCO serving today has made his or her fair share of mistakes. We didn't reach our positions because we were super sergeants. We got there with a lot of help. Our leaders allowed us to make our mistakes and to learn from them. I think I just read that. Hey, barber schools used to start students off by having them shave a balloon. Imagine how many barbers there would be if you flunked when they popped that first balloon. You only learn by doing. Allow your soldiers to occasionally make a mistake. They will learn from it. Today, we have new equipment, technology, and doctrine from when I first enlisted. All of that is a product of countless mistakes and returns to the drawing boards. Most ideas are half-baked at first. Those who do not fear making a mistake are the best at innovating new ways of doing things. Innovation and motivation are a byproduct of a climate where soldiers feel free to use initiative. Initiative, I think we can all agree, is one quality we want to encourage. Success in battle demands soldiers be willing to take risks. A soldier unwilling to take risks will not stay alive to complete the mission. Those risks are not taken lightly. Soldiers calculate the risks based on knowledge of the situation, training, equipment, and the mission. A soldier must be aggressive to survive. Fostering a zero defect climate destroys this aggressiveness. Soldiers who are afraid to take a risk in peace will never take a risk in war. And proper handling of a subordinate who makes a mistake may just cause that soldier's death on a future battlefield. Our history is full of aggressive combat leaders who made their share of mistakes in peace. Yeah, I mean, look at anybody from World War II. Those guys were badasses.
Oh yeah.
Understanding and using failure as a development tool and a willingness to take calculated risks are important leadership traits. The most important, however, is an understanding that the proper handling of failure is a character builder for soldiers. Soldiers who know they will get fair treatment are less likely to lie about their actions. If your soldiers know you to be a fair, understanding leader, they will be honest with you. Soldiers who know their leaders are waiting for them to screw up have nothing to lose when called on the carpet. If they know there is nothing to gain from being honest, they will not be. Leaders who have a well-developed strategy for dealing with the shortcomings of their subordinates have problems with soldiers lying to them. This does not mean failure lacks consequences. On the contrary, failure in the Army is such a serious matter we must deal with it in a systematic way. Failure frequently brings deadly consequences. That's why it's so important for us to understand it. To find the balance I referred to earlier, leaders must know how to assess failures. We must balance the failure against the soldier's potential to develop into honest, motivated, innovative, aggressive soldier who will survive on the battlefield. Hold that thought.
What in the whistle?
What in the whistle? Leaders must take into account 5 factors when assessing failures: the offense, integrity, attitude, the soldier's record, and our investment in the soldier. The first step in assessing the failure is to gather information about the offense. Was the soldier in question at fault? If so, why? Did the soldier have adequate training in leadership? Is there proper guidance in the form of regulations, SOPs, etc.? Did injuries occur? Was there property damage? Will there be some negative impact upon another's career, such as a missed school quota or late award recommendation? Can the soldier correct the mistake and overcome the failure? What has happened in the past? Is this a common error? Does it happen on a regular basis? Do you or someone else issue previous warnings? Leaders must ask themselves these and other questions before they commend or take action. Some mistakes are serious enough that you have no choice in your reaction to them. They are regulated either by law or policy. These matters may be out of our hands. The chain of command may be responsible for initiating action. But most failures involve minor matters and are subject to evaluation. You have the power to judge and take action. The integrity of the soldier is an important factor to consider in assessing failure. Ask yourself these questions. How did I find out about it? Did the soldier bring it to my attention, or was he or she caught in the act? Even if caught in the act, did the soldier take responsibility for his or her actions? Did the soldier try to cover up the event or blame others? These are questions of character. The answers play a major concern as you contemplate your reaction. A soldier with a strong character is worthy of your effort. Weak characters are a drain on military effectiveness and may not deserve favorable consideration. The soldier's attitude will either help resolve the situation or make it worse. Does the soldier recognize the error? Is the soldier taking positive steps towards resolving the situation? Soldiers who know their weaknesses and take action to improve are better than those who can do no wrong. Soldiers must participate in the improvement. Leaders may be able to lead their horses to water, but cannot make them drink. Soldiers must be willing to soldier back from failure. Consider soldiers individually. Look at prior records. All other things being equal, the soldier's record should tell you a lot. Don't cast a good soldier adrift based on one mistake. Consider the record. Is the mistake likely to be repeated? Finally, consider the investment you and the Army have in the soldier. Beyond the money spent on training, how much have you invested in the soldier? Investments grow when you consistently add to the principal and allow the interest to compound. Your efforts will only pay off if you allow soldiers to grow. Assessing failure is a complex issue. You can take the easy way out by creating a zero defect environment, or you can develop your subordinates. The first approach creates soldiers who lack initiative and motivation. The second imbues soldiers with motivation to persevere and succeed against the odds. And there's a quote here at the bottom. It says, soldiers who know they will get fair. Oh, that's a quote from the from the article. I don't want to do that again. So yeah, I mean, it's okay to fail, depending on what the failure point is. You know, it's human nature. Nobody's perfect. And then you get into the whole religious conversation of God is perfect and all that stuff because we're imperfect. I'm not going to go into that because I'm not the person that should be having that conversation due to a lack of upbringing in my religious upbringing when I was younger. But it's okay to mess up. Like, that's why you have insurance on your vehicles. You pay in case things happen, in case accidents happen. Do you have an accident? Yeah. Does your insurance go up a little bit? Sure, for a couple of years until it comes off your record. But like, that's why you pay that money. It sucks you got to pay it, but you're paying it just as a coverall in case things happen. It's all good. So there is the last thing I want to read real quick. When we were researching this topic point, this discussion for this evening, I am a big fan of a show on CBS called Blue Bloods. And if you don't know what that show is, come out from under your rock. No, I'm just kidding. It's a show on CBS about a family that is very involved with the New York City Police Department. The matriarch of the family, played by Tom Selleck, is the police commissioner who used to be a police officer. He went all the way from a patrol cop all the way up to the chief.
Do you mean patriarch?
What did I say?
Matriarch?
I did. I thought I said patriarch. My bad. Anyway, so he used to be a beat cop all the way to the chief of the department, became the police commissioner. His father is a retired police commissioner. Same kind of thing. He has 2 sons. He has 3 sons. One is deceased. Anyway, it's a great show. You should watch it. But a lot of times, Tom Selleck's character, his name is Frank Reagan, he draws a lot of comparisons to Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt, for a time, if you haven't looked up Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt was badass, okay? Like,
yeah, he was.
Teddy Roosevelt was a stud of a dude, right? So one of the big things that he did, and the reason why he's important, everybody knows him for the Rough Riders and being a president of this great country, but he was also he was asked to join the civilian committee, the board of commissioners that oversaw the police department. And Teddy Roosevelt ended up becoming, at one point, they got rid of having a bunch of civilian commissioners to where it was just one commissioner overseeing everything else. And he also made it to where he started having hiring guys on their physical ability, their mental acuity, as opposed to their religion, their background, and their political affiliation. It's like, I want guys that are going to be strong. He actually also had them start doing like firearms inspections, like just kind of common sense stuff. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. So there's a lot of comparisons, and there's a quote that I heard several times on the show that is just very, very awesome. There's 2 of them actually. So let me go back to this. The first quote that we found, and this is kind of just in general, it says, "It is hard to fail, but it is worse never to have tried to succeed." Like Alamo was saying earlier, it's like, yeah, mess up, fine, mess up 10,000 times. It's better than not trying at all. It's like, it means you're trying to accomplish your goal. You're striving to reach that objective, But the quote that I have really, really, really kind of just that resounds, that kind of really just it lives in my head rent free, right? "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, At least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. And he said that at a speech at Sorbonne, Paris, April 23rd of 1910. It's like
Nice.
his quotes are awesome. So, but yeah, I
Hell
mean,
yeah.
it's okay to fail as long as you don't let that failure define you. As long as you can
Yeah.
learn from it. You know, I saw something else I was reading about failure, and it was like, you know, if you're using failure as a tool, it has the 3A plan. It's like, you know, the failure happens, analyze, adjust, attack, and then you go back and try to accomplish what you were trying to accomplish and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
I like that. That's pretty damn dope. So,
Which
but
that's
yeah,
how it leads into how it relates to what our freaking our fight is all about, man. Like
yes.
we fail, man. We freaking fail. I've failed thousands of times. And does it suck ass? Yes. Yes. It sucks ass.
Yes.
It sucks ass.
Sir,
Okay.
yes.
Like, you know, but the most
Oh my
important thing is
god.
to try it. The most important thing is to try and move on, you know, like, it, you know, I think the most important thing is like our failure, like what Max said, our failures don't define who we are. It's what we do to freaking fix the failures to begin with is what defines us. How do we move on? How do we adjust? You know? And the sad thing is like I know unfortunately there's dozens of guys out there that have, you know, if not more than that, that have, you know, taken the easy way out because, you know, they failed at something. And
Or they fail the first time. They're like, well, that sucks. I don't want to do it again. And they're kind of timid, shy, apprehensive about going through that experience again. It's like, it's okay, man. Like, you're going to
yeah,
fail. Like,
absolutely.
how many times does a guy learning BJJ or some type of mixed martial arts discipline get his ass thrown to the mat like a fucking rag doll time and time and time again until he learns enough to go,
Hmm.
okay, yeah,
Maybe I shouldn't do that. And maybe I
maybe
shouldn't put my
I
leg there anymore or my arm in that position.
and I hear that that's such a great culture for that because guys, you know, like I heard the best description for that. And I think it was our interview with the guy from Mission 22 talking about how they do like scholarships for like a year's
For BJJ. Yeah.
for BJJ and type stuff. You know, somebody described it as playing chess with your sweaty ass body, and it's like, okay. And the guys are sitting here and they're like, okay, that's great and everything, but maybe try this. Or, you know, it's one of those like subcultures of society where it's like they're very much all about like learning and teaching. Like you're gonna get tossed. You're gonna end up hurt. You're gonna end up bruised. You're gonna get, you know, thrown around a little bit. But fail so you learn and then you get better and you don't get your ass beat so much. You know what I'm saying?
Yar.
That's my final thought. So, not to steal anything from Jerry Springer, but
Yar.
that's our final thought. So, let's wrap this thing up, shall we? So, as we mentioned earlier, if you're new to the show, we started this podcast. Alamo and I have known each other since high school, going on 20 years, and we had the idea of like doing something together. And we had a buddy of ours named John. John was a funny damn dude. Like he was hilarious. Great guy to work with. Would give you his shirt off his back if it meant helping you out and stuff. Um, John unfortunately solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution and ended his life, and that is very tragic because he was just the best dude. I mean, loved to laugh, loved to horse around at work and just do dumb shit. It was awesome. So I found out about John, and I called up Alamo. I was like, "Hey, did you hear about John?" He goes, "No, man, I got to reach out to him." I was like, "You can't. He's gone." And that was the kind of like the catalyst for me to go, "Yeah, let's get together. Let's do a podcast." Because he had brought it up, and I'm like, "I don't know nothing about a podcast." He's like, "How hard can it be? They put a monkey in space." I'm like, "That's very true." So we came up with the podcast, the idea for doing a podcast. We've been doing it. This is now our 77th episode. We're halfway through our 4th season. Um, and
Working
we
our
were
way to the
thinking,
centennial.
yeah, working our way up, man. So we were discussing like what we would do to kind of like help with what we would talk about. Obviously, we're kind of marketed towards the veteran community, first responders, but anybody, this is not just exclusive. This is, this message can go to anybody who may need to hear it. So we came up with the Battle Bros Code. And what the Bros Code is 4 simple things you can do to remember that, you're here, you need to stay here so that other people can enjoy you like everybody else, like everybody does. Okay. Don't think you're alone because you're not. Okay. So if you can remember the letters BROS, you're good. That's all you got to do. So be tenacious. No matter what you do, do it to the best. Like if you're gonna fail, fucking fail. Make it awesome. Make this shit epic. And then you'd be like, okay, so we got the house fire out. Let's try it again. Okay, let's not mess up that bad, but let's do it again and accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. No matter what you do in life, do it to the 100. Do it to 100% of your ability. Go out there, do it with gusto, do it with bravado. In the immortal words of the great Ron Swanson, don't half-ass 2 things, whole ass 1 thing. And that's all I need to say about that. So yeah, be tenacious. R, refuse to surrender. There's going to be plenty of times, like we talked about, you're going to fail. If you let the failure define you, you're going to quit. And then you are labeled as a quitter. Don't quit. Like we talked about earlier, you can get hurt and go through Ranger School as many times as you need to. It happens. Guys do that. It is what it is. Okay. As long as you don't give in to the quit, you're fine. Okay. No matter what happens, you keep going. You keep striving on and trying to hit that objective or hit that goal, that accomplishment, that trying to level up, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Refuse to surrender. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. Going along with the last tenet that we talked about, those obstacles are going to be in your way. Don't let them defeat you. Get around them, circumvent them, whatever you got to do. If you got to go and dig, swim in the mucky river to get through the swamp to accomplish your objective, do it. If you got to go and go into the wood line, down the road, come out of the wood line and pick up the trail you're on before, do it. Okay. Sometimes you got to blow some stuff up with some C4 and Bangalores, and sometimes you got to drive a vehicle into it. Okay, cool. Whatever you got, it takes. Whatever needs to happen. Whatever happens, it's all good. Obliterate your obstacles. S, most importantly, seek out help in a time of need. Okay. Um, John is not here anymore, and that is unfortunate because he is a dude that was worth knowing, and he was funny, and he was great, and he was a friend. Don't ever feel like you're going through this alone. If you need to, if you are feeling yourself going down a bad path and you're contemplating doing goofy stuff, reach out to somebody close to you. Friends, I know at any point in time, I can call this guy right here. We can talk. We can, if we're close by, we'll sit down and we'll have a beer. We'll kind of hash things out and discuss it. If you don't have somebody available that you served with, a trusted confidant, a childhood friend, a family member, somebody you can talk to and have an open and honest conversation and discussion about things. That's crucially important. If you don't, there are resources out there. There is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You can call 1-800-273-8255, 1-800-273-TALK, 1-800-273-TALK. You can also dial 3 digits 988. That's 988. And the nice thing about that is that you can either call or you can text that number because everybody's got a cellular phone. Everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody texts nowadays. So it's another way to get out and reach people. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't feel like you have to go through this alone because you're not. Okay. Our goal is to make this not be so much of a statistic anymore. That on average is number of military veterans a day that commit suicide, and that's 22 too many. And it sucks when you know just one of those names. Right? And Alamo, I know has known quite a few since we started doing this show. I know John. I know another guy that I served with in Afghanistan. He kind of went down the same path, unfortunately. But yeah, there's options out there. Don't feel like you have to go through it alone. Okay. So on that note, I'm going to hand it off to Alamo. We're going to wrap this thing up and we're going to get out of here. So take it away.
If you would like to find us on the socials, you can do that on multiple places. One of them being the Facebook, where you can catch us over at facebook.com/battlebros.podcast. You can also catch us on the Instagram at battlebros_podcast, as well as X, formerly known as Twitter, where you could find us at battlebrospc, and you can contact us there on either one of those platforms via the instant messaging, service that they have on those platforms. If for any reason whatsoever you guys or gals, feel like you don't want to contact us via the public forum, we do have a private email that you could contact us on, and that is our Gmail, battlebrospc@gmail.com. I'll say that again, battlebrospc@gmail.com, where we are monitoring every single one of those messaging services, including the email, 24/7 to make sure that we're here for you guys to be able to contact with you. Especially if you feel as if you're in a crisis and you feel like no one else is able to talk to you. We want to be there for you. We want to talk to you. We want to talk you off of that, proverbial cliff or whatever it is that is bothering you, and kind of bring you back into, safer ground. Because everybody needs help every once in a while. Everybody has their moments. I mean, I've had a few, unfortunately. Thank God I, had people around me that, really gave enough of a crap to really kind of, know, smack me upside the head and say, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" It sucks feeling like you're alone, and it sucks feeling like you don't have anywhere to turn to. And we say, "Damn that." There's somewhere where you could turn to. And if you don't feel like it's anybody else, we're here for you. And we want to do that for you. This is first and primarily a community building endeavor. The platform that we are given here with Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, iHeart, basically any audio platform where you listen to us, including Google. Like, we are here to make sure that, whether it's the veteran community, whether it's law enforcement, otherwise, doesn't matter. This message needs to be heard for anybody and everybody that's having issues. Me and Mac have said it before. We truly, truly, truly believe that this is a, it's a passion project that we make for everyone. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, we have our veteran and law enforcement brethren in mind, obviously first, but you never know who would need to hear what we're saying. You never know who would need to hear what we're talking about. And we just want to be there for whoever this is. And again, like I said, last but not least, if you feel like you want to watch us somewhere else, we are on Rumble. I believe I'm still having a few issues with that. I need to check and see if the episodes have been uploading. If not, I'm going to have to resubmit to make sure that our episodes are being uploaded. Once again, I know most of the holiday episodes went up, and then I don't know if it was continuing after that, which I'm going to have to check on. So
Gotcha.
No worries if you are a Rumble watcher, which I know we actually have quite a few on Rumble as well. If you are a Rumble watcher, I'm going to make sure that I get those episodes back and cranking over on the Rumble, so that way you have a way of watching us on a platform where it's, if you feel so inclined, it's a little bit less restrictive. So, yeah. Other than that, I'm good.
Cool. Once again, everybody, thank you for stopping by for our conversation on failure. This has been episode 077 of the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. Thanks for stopping by. Please remember that you are not alone, and always remember to be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, and seek out help in a time of need. If you can do those, you're going to be a lot better than crappy. So that's an
Right
important
as
thing to
rain.
remember. Until we meet again, we will be back hopefully next week, provided that we don't have any issues technical wise or health wise. But we will see you folks down the road for another exciting episode, another great conversation. Until that point, stay classy, San Diego? Question mark.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Oh, that's what it was. Damn it, I messed it up. Shit, my bad. Folks, have a great night. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you down the road.
Battle Bros out.